want to know what it's fighting for. Podcast for George. 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 Oh, yeah.
Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome on in to another podcast by George. We're staying on top of the breaking news, folks. Another special edition of Podcast by George, and it's special because I'm out in the field. I'm remote again at the Ankeny plant of John Deere. The UAW went on strike against John Deere, I think it was midnight last Sunday. And it's a big deal. It's big news nationwide. A lot of people, protagonists on the left in particular, are hoping that this is the beginning, the harbinger of a general strike that will cause workers to rise up in all areas of American business and say, hey, we want ours. You got yours with the CARES Act beginning at the start of the pandemic and right on down the line. And we haven't seen anything yet but a couple of checks for $2,000 or something like that. We want our part of this. And you think, John Deere, well, here's a couple of things about John Deere, a few things actually that you may not know. John Deere is a $6 billion yearly company. Their stock tripled in the pandemic. Yeah. John Deere's stock price tripled in the pandemic. Their CEO, John May, his pay went up 160%. 160% in 2020, and they had a new contract coming up with a membership for UAW with John Deere, and John Deere said, hey, we're going to give you 5% increases, and then it wasn't even that, actually. In some areas, it's kind of this contractual thing. Anyway, UAW said, no, you ain't. You're not going to give us 5%. You're not going to give your CEO 160% and give us 5%. The members voted 90% in favor of a strike. And that's what's happening right now. The picket line, as you saw, is up, and it's 24/7, 365 days a year. If it lasts that long, at least they say they're ready to stay out. And we went and talked to a spokesperson for the UAW. And when I say we, who's that? Well, Laura Belin with Bleeding Heartland was out with Podcast by George. God, that's a great thing. She was on the microphone. I was on the camera. I got a question in. Laura asked a bunch of really good questions as we talked to J.D. Neal. Now, he's an officer with UAW Local 450. He was good enough to step outside and answer our questions. Let's check it out now with Laura Belin on the microphone.
All right, so J.D., can you first explain sort of what you've mentioned, that you can speak generally about the strike and what led to the concerns that led to the strike?
There's only certain things I can talk about, and we feel that what John Deere put out in front of us wasn't fair, and we're fighting to receive what's fair, and not just for us, but for the labor movement in general. This isn't just about us. It's about the Americans out there, middle class working Americans. So we're fighting for us right now, but we're also fighting for everybody else.
Why do you think? The vote was really overwhelming, 90% to reject the contract. It seems like it's hard to get 90% of any large group of people to agree on anything. Why do you think it was such an overwhelming vote?
I think this time it was overwhelming because we, as the local here around Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, we're showing what strength in numbers is about. So, to see a 90% no, I believe that's a strong statement saying that the working class is tired of corporate greed and the corporations padding their pockets and not sharing what's owed.
The last strike at John Deere lasted a little more than 5 months. Do you have any thoughts, or does UAW have any expectations on how long are you prepared to take this fight?
We have no idea how long it's going to last. I know that we're prepared and ready to stand strong as long as it takes.
Is it true that the company is cutting the people on strike off from health care? and later this month?
Yes.
And so does UAW have a fund that's going to cover people's health care
Yes.
for the duration of the strike?
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts about it? Deere has had some of the salaried employees working on the floor. Do you have any thoughts about that? How feasible it is, or, I mean, whether it's right for the people to be doing jobs they weren't trained for?
Good luck. That's what I can say. It's good luck. That's good luck.
And how do you feel about the community support that you've been getting since Thursday?
The community support here in the Des Moines area and Iowa in general has been, has been overwhelming. We haven't really reached out to anybody personally. It's just people seeing, that we're on strike, and it's very heartwarming to know that we have such a great community supporting us. We've had donations. We have a small pantry in there. It just grew big time this morning with locals from out of state coming up to support us, and water, hot meals, clothes, toiletries, anything that anybody in our local needs while we're on strike. They can come down here and hopefully we can take care of them. We'll always have a hot meal or something to eat for everybody.
Do you have pickets going round the clock, or what hours are you picketing?
24/7.
And are you scheduling shifts, or people are just coming when they can, when they're able?
We're scheduling shifts, and then obviously throughout the day and night, people come on their own because, we voted no for a reason. We didn't vote for a vacation.
The weather's going to get colder here soon.
Absolutely.
You plan to continue with around the clock?
We will continue around the clock, obviously keeping safety of our members firsthand, but that's part of our donations. People have been bringing us propane tanks, and because we can't have an open burn barrel, within Ankeny limits, and that's understandable. So we're putting portable propane heaters out there, and people have been dropping off propane tanks, and they're willing to come back and fill them back up for us, so our members can stay warm and stay safe.
Have you been following the news coverage of the strike?
Very little.
It was just because I was going to ask if there was anything you feel was missing from the media coverage that you haven't.
No, I don't think so. I think the media coverage has been pretty fair from what I've seen. Right? So I haven't paid attention to everything out there. But I would hope that people know that we're not the greedy ones. We want a fair wage. We want to be able to retire someday with a pension to be able to continue to pay our bills. We want to be able to send our kids to school, help our kids pay for school. And with the work that we do between welding, machinists, assemblers, forklift drivers, all around, it's hard work that takes a toll on the body. And if we don't have anything when we retire, what good are we going to be to our families and to the community that we're going to give back to because they've been so great with us?
So Deere has had since 1997 these two-tier contracts, so the long-term workers get a better deal than the new hires.
Yes.
And in the past, those contracts have been approved. But what do you think changed that people aren't willing to agree to a contract that's a lot worse for the newer hires nowadays?
Because people are starting to understand that benefits the company. That does not benefit the workers.
And do you mind asking, were you here when the 2015 contract?
Yeah, I've been with John Deere and Local 450 for 17 years.
And was there already like some underlying discontent at that time even?
Yes.
And why do you think that didn't get to the point that it has this year?
Why did
in 2015, why were people willing to? Because that's what I've heard that there was a lot of unhappiness about the contract.
The last contract passed by less than 200 votes. So it was very close the last time, and I think the people that voted no or yes last time, I think they paid attention this time, and the results were over 90% across the UAW Deere chain.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning that you're limited in what you can say. I mean, is there a reason why UAW is wanting to limit what is said to the media?
Because we don't know what's going to happen, right? So we're not going to give any information that we're not 100% sure on. Well, you know, what I can tell you is we're 100% sure that the contract they gave us was not satisfactory, and we won't go back to work, and we won't cross that line until we get something that is.
And what do you feel, if there's one thing that you would say your members need that they haven't been getting the last few days, what would that be?
You know, that's a hard question to answer because right now we're so new at this. This is what, day 3, day 4. So right now we're getting everything we need. As this continues in a month, 2 months from now, if we're still out there, you know, that answer could be way different.
How many members of your local were working at Deere when the 1986 strike happened?
I have no idea.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. This is the biggest strike in Iowa in decades.
Decades. Yes. Yes, it is.
I got a question, Laura.
Yeah.
I'm particularly concerned with the inequity situation that you cited, and to help people understand the union's position right now. The fact that you were deemed essential workers during the pandemic, the fact that the stock prices for Deere soared, the fact that your CEO got a 160% pay increase in 2020 alone. Can you speak to how that factored into the decision to go on strike?
It pissed us off. 100%. You called me essential. We came to work every single day. And we continue to make you millions. Not millions, billions of dollars. And, you know, you say you want to give us 5 to 6% up front. It's a slap in the face.
How much extra work were your members taking on during the pandemic? And how many extra, were you working 6-day weeks?
It would depend.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Some people would work 5-day weeks. Some people would work up to 7 days. And did we take on extra? Damn right we did. People were out sick. We couldn't come to work. You know, if we sneezed, they'd send us home. So somebody had to pick up the slack, and that was the people that were able to be there. And we did that. So, yeah, it was something, to say the least.
Is there anything I didn't ask that you think is important for us to know?
You know, just continue to support. You know that the people out there walking the line, we're not the bad guys. We're just hard-working, middle-class people that want a fair wage and, you know, a benefit package to, you know, live our lives. We don't want to live in mansions or, you know, buy a Lamborghini or anything like that. So that's what I say, just continued support.
And you feel that there's a lot of solidarity within the UAW, or are there people unhappy with what's going on?
I would say in the 17 years that I've been active in the UAW, this is the most solidarity, the strongest solidarity I've seen yet. And outside of Deere, I know that the UAW around the nation will support this. Our international is going to support it. And so, yeah, I'm pretty confident that we're pretty strong right now.
So a tip of the podcast by George hockey helmet to J.D. Neal. He's an officer with UAW Local 450 there. He agreed to come out and talk with Laura Belin. And, of course, a big tip of the hockey helmet to Laura Belin. We love her, and it's great to have her on Podcast by George. She's on the microphone there with those questions that were great. And I hope you appreciate everything that we're bringing to you on Podcast by George. We're trying, folks. We're getting out there. And if you do like Podcast by George, give us a thumbs up. Give us a follow, a subscribe, a comment, whatever you can do. Where you can find these podcasts in their entirety is always at podcastbygeorge.com. The audio will be there. You can just click and play. There's a link where you can see the video of the podcast in its entirety on YouTube. And then we're going to start posting these clips, these shorts as they're called, more frequently on YouTube and on Facebook, 4 or 5 minutes in length to make them easy to digest and watch. But that's going to do it for this one. That's going to wrap it up. That's all there is, and there ain't no more. That's another podcast by George.